evening. On behalf of the commissioners and staff, I would like to extend a warm welcome to you all to the September 26, 2024 City of Roseville Planning Commission meeting. Please put all electronic devices on silent at this time. Agendas are available at the end of the staff table. If you plan to speak at tonight's meeting, please complete a blue speaker card, which is located on the lectern in front, and return it to a staff member. As a reminder, Planning Commission meetings are broadcast live and replayed throughout the week on Consolidated Communications and Comcast. I will now call the meeting to order. Jessica, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Brashears?
Here.
Commissioner Covington is absent excused. Commissioner Jensen?
Here.
Commissioner Randolph?
Here.
Commissioner Unidad?
Here.
Vice Chair Hagen-Joss?
Here.
And Chair Pryor.
Here. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jessica, please begin staff introductions.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Sawyer, Recording Secretary.
Good evening, Commissioners. Joe Speaker, Assistant City Attorney.
Good evening, Chair Pryor and Commissioners. Greg Bitter, Planning Manager.
Good evening, Chair Pryor and Commissioners. Derek Ogden, Senior Planner.
Good evening, Chair Pryor, Commissioners. My name is Kenny Shallow, Associate Planner.
And good evening, Commissioners. Matt Todd, Principal Engineer.
The public comment period is a time for anyone who would like to address the Commission on any item not on tonight's agenda. When addressing the Commission, please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the Commission on any item not on tonight's agenda? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period. Next, we have the consent calendar, which consists of routine items that may be approved under one motion as recommended in the staff reports. However, each item may be considered separately upon a request by the audience, Planning Commission, or staff. Tonight's consent calendar consists of one item. Item 5.1, minutes from the September 12, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Is there anyone on the Commission or in the audience who would like to pull this item off the consent calendar for separate discussion? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as listed?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Commissioner Brashears has made the motion and Commissioner Randolph has seconded the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes, you may. Commissioner Unidad?
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hagen-Joss?
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears?
Yes.
And Chair Pryor.
Yes. The motion is approved. Next on the agenda is requests and presentations. Before I begin, I want to review the meeting procedures. First, we will hear the staff presentation. Then I will take questions from the Commission. Then I will open the public hearing and the public comment period when the public will have an opportunity to speak. After the public has had an opportunity to speak, I will close public comment period. The Commission may ask questions of staff. Then I will close the public hearing. Finally, the Commission will consider this item and make a decision based on the information provided in the report from staff and the testimony presented during tonight's hearing. Item 6.1 is a request that the Planning Commission approve a conditional use permit and design review permit for 300 North Sunrise Avenue. For the record, file PL 24-0744. Kinney, may we have your presentation, please?
Yes, good evening again. I'm here to present the Quick Quack Car Wash project. Next slide, please. Oh, there. So the project site is located within the infill planning area at the northwestern corner of North Sunrise Avenue and Lead Hill Boulevard. The site is zoned Plan Development 16 and has land use designation of community commercial. Surrounding uses include retail to the north and west, the auto mall to the east, and a gas station and auto sales to the south. The site is developed with an 11,000 square foot pad building that was previously occupied by restaurant and retail uses. The current request is for a conditional use permit and design review permit to develop the site with a 3,700 square foot quick quack car wash. The existing building will be demolished. The building will be located on the eastern portion of the site with the vehicle entrance located on the southern end of the building. 2 vehicle stacking lanes of 275 linear feet each are proposed, which exceeds the minimum requirement of 100 linear feet. The project also meets the parking requirements, providing a total of 19 spaces, with 15 of those spaces provided as covered vacuum stalls. Vehicles exiting the car wash tunnel may either immediately exit this site through the internal driveways connecting to the adjacent roadways, or they may drive down to the vacuum spaces. The hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily, which is consistent with other car washes in the city. Staff finds the proposed car wash is compatible with the other auto-oriented uses in the surrounding area. These are renderings of the site from the view along North Sunrise and at the project corner. Initially, staff was not supportive of a car wash at this location and had concerns with the visibility of vehicles in the car wash stacking lanes. However, the applicant designed the site with a substantial design element at the corner, which consists of a 14-foot tall landscape feature wall as shown in the bottom image, and this will limit the stacking view and provide visual interest. The building is also well articulated with variations in the roofline, architectural treatments, colors, and materials. The color scheme includes warm beige tones with yellow and dark auburn accent colors, and the materials include concrete masonry with stone applied at the base of the building and as columns to frame the building towers. Overall, the project is consistent with the surrounding area and the community design guidelines. Early notification of the project was posted on the Arcona website, and notice of tonight's hearing was published in the Press Tribune, distributed to a 300-foot radius, and posted on the Arcona website. And no public comments have been received. The project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15332 for infill development projects and Section 305 of the city's CEQA implementing procedures. Consistent with this exemption, the project site is no more than 5 acres, is surrounded by urban uses, will not result in substantial impacts, and can be served by all required utilities and public services. In conclusion, staff finds the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding uses, and the project is consistent with the goals, policies, and standards of the zoning ordinance and the general plan, and the required findings for approval can be made. Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt the required findings of fact and approve the conditional use permit and design review permit subject to the recommended conditions of approval. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Kinney. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff at this time? All right, I will now open the public hearing. I would like to invite the project representative for this item to address the commission.
Chair Pryor, Commissioners, thanks very much for having us tonight again. We love your city, and we have our headquarters in your city, 2 of them, actually. We have stores in your city, and they do very, very well. I think this is the perfect corner, especially with the addition of the columns and the trellis work to enhance that corner completely and kind of put together a revised look for that corner. There are very few car washes in the area. There's none within, express car washes within 2 miles. So that's the concept, is to be convenient and not have to put on vehicle miles traveled to get to a car wash. Thank you, Kenny, for your presentation. I think she covered pretty much everything. Excuse me. Unless you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, are there any questions for the project representative at this time?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. You may be seated. I will now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item? All right, seeing none, I will now close the public comment period. Commissioners, are there any additional questions or comments for the applicant? Okay. Okay, I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission adopt the 3 findings of fact and approve the conditional use permit subject to 4 conditions of approval, and adopt the 4 findings of fact and approve the design review permit subject to 60 conditions of approval.
Second that.
Commissioner Brashears has made the motion, and Commissioner Randolph has seconded the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Vice Chair Hagan-Jost,
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears,
Yes.
Commissioner Unidad,
Yes.
Commissioner Randolph,
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen,
Yes.
and Chair Pryor.
Yes. The motion is approved. There is a 10-day appeal period for this item.
Is that business or calendar days?
It is.
It's business days.
It is. Thank you.
And thank you for the approval. Appreciate it.
Of item 6.2, which is a request that the Planning Commission consider the 13th addendum to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan, EIR, adopt a resolution approving the general plan amendment and specific plan amendment, approve the rezone and the 5th amendment to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan Westbrook Development Agreement, and that the Planning Commission approve a tentative subdivision map and lot line adjustment for 2931 Pleasant Grove Boulevard. For the record, file number PL24-0397. Sean, may we have your presentation, please?
Yes, you may. Good evening, Chair Pryor and Commissioners. My name is Sean Morales. I'm an Associate Planner, and I'm here tonight to present to you the WB 42 rezone project. Slide. The project is located on parcel WB 42 within the Westbrook portion of the Sierra Vista Specific Plan, or SVSP, at the southwest corner of Pleasant Grove Boulevard and Westbrook Boulevard. The site has a zoning and general plan land use designation of community commercial and is 14.5 acres in size. The SVSP was adopted in 2010 and the Westbrook area was added in 2012. The site is bordered by low-density single-family subdivisions on all 4 sides, including the gated Heritage Solaire active adult community on the south and west, which was approved in 2017. The applicant requests the following project entitlements. They request a lot line adjustment to reconfigure parcel WB 42 from 2 parcels of 6 and 8.5 acres into WB 42A on the north of 7 acres and WB 42B to the south of 7.5 acres. A rezone, general plan amendment, and specific plan amendment are requested to change the zoning of parcel WB 42B from community commercial to residential small lot and the land use from community commercial to medium density residential at 7 units per acre. A 5th amendment to the Westbrook Development Agreement is requested to reflect the proposed land use change, and a tentative subdivision map is also requested to create 53 single-family residential lots on parcel WB 42B. Consistent with the City Council's adopted guidelines for the conversion of non-residential land uses, a fiscal impact analysis was prepared which demonstrated that although the land use change of WB 42B to residential will likely create less revenue than anticipated with the commercial land use, the project site will not have a negative fiscal impact to the city's general fund on an annual basis. The conversion policy also requires the project provide a public benefit. There's an existing public benefit fee in the Westbrook Development Agreement that would generate approximately $67,000 from this project. And the applicant and city have negotiated 2 new fees that will add an additional approximately $500,000 for future park development. To further support the request, the applicant provided a retail analysis that anticipated, based on the location and current market trends, the site could support approximately 60 to 70,000 square feet of retail development within the next 5 to 10 years. And the applicant also provided a conceptual commercial site plan for the remaining 7-acre WB 42A commercial parcel that shows a 43,000 square foot grocery store and 11,000 square feet of pad buildings could fit on the site. The applicant proposes a 53-unit single-family subdivision on WB 42B with a typical lot size of 45 feet wide by 75 feet long, and all lots meet the applicable development standards. Access to the subdivision would be provided from Westbrook Boulevard to the east, and there is also an emergency vehicle access that connects to Pleasant Grove to the north. There is a single-loaded street with 10 to 15-foot landscape planter for buffering from the adjacent single-family homes to the south and west of the project. And the city's engineering division and fire department staff determined the map provides adequate street widths for circulation and emergency response. The project includes a Fifth Amendment to the Westbrook DA, which governs parcel WB 42. The DA will be amended to reflect the proposed land use change and changes in acreage, as well as the new fees previously discussed for park development. Consistent with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines for previously adopted documents, an addendum to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan EIR was prepared for this project, which did not identify any new environmental impacts. Early notification of the project was posted on the Arcona website and the city's Projects of Interest page. The developer also installed a sign on the property notifying the public of the rezone. The applicant presented the project to the Heritage Solaire community in August and to the Solaire Neighborhood Association earlier this month. Approximately 50 to 60 people attended each meeting. Tonight's public hearing notice was published in the Press Tribune, mailed to property owners within 300 feet, emailed to interested individuals, and also posted on the Arcona website. 3 letters were received in response to the notice and published with your staff report. An additional 3 letters were received after publication and forwarded to commissioners and are available at the staff table as well. The discussion at both neighborhood meetings, as well as in letters received, is fairly consistent, and I'll summarize it here. Residents against the project want to retain the possibility for more commercial services closer to their homes and believe that future nearby developments, such as the soccer complex on Westbrook Boulevard, will increase the viability of a 14.5-acre commercial site in this location, and thus they feel the applicant is acting prematurely to rezone to residential at this time. The applicant spoke for the project at both meetings and stated that other nearby commercial developments, such as the Rayleigh's One, Safeway, and Costco, all either recently constructed or in development, decrease the viability of a full 14-acre commercial project here, and that the smaller parcel is right-sizing this commercial development for development in the foreseeable future. Also, that they have tried to market the site unsuccessfully, in particular to grocers, over the last number of years. I should also add that there are a smaller contingent of residents adjacent to the project that are in support because they prefer a residential neighborhood to a commercial in their backyards. In conclusion, staff finds that the project is consistent with the goals, policies, and standards of the zoning ordinance, general plan, and specific plan. The project is appropriately designed and will not be detrimental to the public health and safety or materially detrimental to public welfare, and that the required findings of fact can be made. Thus, staff recommends that the commission take the actions listed on this slide, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Sean. Commissioners, are there any questions for staff at this time? All right, I will now open the public hearing. I would like to invite the project representative for this item to address the commission.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Marcus LaDuca, 1508 Eureka Road here in Roseville. On behalf of West Park Communities, I'm pleased to be before you tonight with your staff's recommendation for approval of West Park's proposal to right-size the WB 42 commercial acreage in the Westbrook portion of the Sierra Vista Specific Plan. As your staff report notes, and as Sean just reviewed, the Westbrook portion of Sierra Vista was approved in June of 2012. West Park, as the master developer of the entire Westbrook area, has built all the backbone infrastructure for all of Westbrook and entitled and sold all the properties that have been developed and built on in West Park to this date. West Park is not a residential builder or a commercial builder, but it knows how to plan out and get ready for construction residential communities and commercial sites and attract the builders, both commercial and residential, to those properties. In the case of commercial acreage, West Park planned, entitled, and built the infrastructure to serve the West Roseville Specific Plan Village Center site, which has become a very successful retail center for West Plan residents after similarly getting right-sized from its originally approved size. West Park has been marketing the WB 42 commercial site for quite some time and looks to brokers and others in the marketplace to advise them on what is feasible and what is attainable on such a site. It's important to remember that since the Westbrook area was added to the Sierra Vista in 2012, the retail marketplace has changed significantly at least 2 times, if not more, the most recent during and after the COVID pandemic, with the sharp rise in online shopping, as well as massive store closings from bankruptcy filings of retailers, both large and small. In that context, there are several factors that come up in the developability of the site as set forth in the staff report and as shown in the retail analysis from MXD Development Strategist. There's attachment 4 to your staff report. To begin with, there are ongoing development trends. And as shown in the MXD study, community-scaled retail is trending downward in size. What 12 years ago, when Westbrook was approved, was a fairly standard 14 to 15 acre grocery store anchored retail center has changed quite dramatically with smaller grocery stores in the marketplace, smaller drugstores, and smaller restaurants occupying that segment of the retail market. Here in this area of Roseville, that reduced project size for those kind of centers translates into 62,000 to 71,000 square feet for a neighborhood shopping center, which would need a site, again, 6 to 7 acres inside, according to the report. In addition, as this commission knows, in the last number of years, a number of nearby competitive retail projects have been built in West Roseville, as are outlined on page 29 of the MXD report. And 5 of those are within a 10-minute drive of WB 42. And let's not forget also the approved, not yet constructed retail sites, including the Costco-anchored 750,000 square foot baseline marketplace project, which this commission previously approved. As the commission well knows, Costco has now closed escrow on its site in baseline marketplace. It's our understanding an opening of that store is anticipated in the next couple of years. West Park's proposal before you tonight recognizes the realities of the retail marketplace. It's not enough to hope for a site to develop as one wishes. As always, the marketplace determines what gets built and where. Rather than just taking half a loaf and leaving the rest of the WB 42 site bare, West Park now proposes to add more rooftops immediately adjacent in walking distance of that future commercial development. So again, you can have it right size to meet the marketplace demands, or you can actually leave the entire site vacant as it's been for the last 12 years. We would also note, as staff mentioned in the presentation, that the 53-lot subdivision not only adds more rooftops adjacent to that future commercial site, but it also creates a land use that is much less impactful to existing adjacent residents, with single-loaded streets on the southern and western portions of that subdivision immediately adjacent to existing homes. West Park strongly believes that WB 42 is a good retail site, but it is just too big to be developed as is. Grocery stores are simply not interested in the 14.5 acre site. Our land planner, as Sean mentioned, had laid out for staff a conceptual site plan that showed more than enough room for a grocery store and 2 5,500 square foot retail buildings that could host a number of retail spaces and restaurant spaces. So it is not a matter of a 7 acre site not being able to accommodate the wishes of residents. But just designating a site as commercial at a particular size does not mean that it'll get built at all or built at that size. As for changes in Westbrook area of Sierra Vista, we would note that originally in the land use plan that was approved in June of 2012, after recommendation by this commission, there was an elementary school site and a park site in what is now the Heritage at Slair community. But the specific plan was amended to respond to changing market conditions, as Roseville has routinely done over the many years of its specific planning to address proactively the evolving land use market. Like I said before, West Park is not a retail builder or a home builder, but has developed literally thousands of acres over the past 20 years in Roseville, in the West Roseville specific plan and the Sierra Vista specific plan, and has developed those properties for residential, commercial, parks and trails, schools, and other public uses. We would note that the letters that are in your packet from interested residents are also not from residential builders or commercial builders, but we want to emphasize that what we are proposing can still meet the desire of residents for a range of retail services within walking distance or nearby driving distance of their homes. We would ask tonight for your favorable recommendation to the City Council on our project as proposed. Our project team is here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, are there any questions for the project representative at this time?
I have a question.
Commissioner Onita.
Hi. So you mentioned that you marketed it before and up to now. Do you remember, or do you have a ballpark estimate of how many inquiries you got?
Well, they've been marketing it for 6 years. I would have to turn to John Tallman from West Park Communities to see any inquiries that they might have got. Because again, you don't wait for inquiries to come out. You market it to folks through your brokers and get the word out there, have them contact their clients who are the actual grocers and those kind of stores to see if there's interest, and they run by. So sometimes you don't hear back at all. Oftentimes in the marketplace, you'll reach out to folks and it's crickets. You just don't hear back. You'll send them packets about the project site. Brokers send out tons of those. And oftentimes, if they get one bite from anyone that wants to circle back, that's a lot. It depends on the site. But I'd have to look at Mr. Tallman and say if they've gotten any inquiries. 0 inquiries so far in 6 years.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commission? All right, thank you
Thank you,
very
Mr.
much.
Chairman.
You may be seated. I will now open the public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to come forward and address the commission on this item? I have received a number of blue speaker cards. If anyone else would like to speak, a reminder that speaker cards are available on the lectern. I'm going to call them out in the order in which I've received them. The first person is Kate Rosenlieb.
Good evening. I'm Kate Rosenlieb, and I live in the heritage salar that abuts this proposal to the west and the south. Many of my neighbors have asked me to speak on their behalf because of my background in land use planning. I presented staff today with petition pages containing the signatures of 86 of my heritage salar neighbors, plus 2 nearby neighbors who object to this proposal. I hope this petition will persuade the chair to allow me less than 30 seconds extra time to speak tonight. The petition wasn't an effort to get as many signatures as possible, but rather to talk to my neighbors to get a feel for their opinions on this proposal. I didn't go door to door soliciting signatures on the petition, but rather just talk to neighbors who I met at various functions at our community center or along my street. I would estimate I talked to roughly 10% of my total heritage salar neighbors about this proposal. Based on those conversations and excluding those neighbors who back up to the 53 residential home portion of this proposal, I would say roughly 85 to 90% of the people I talk to are against this proposal, with their primary reason being they want the services the larger commercial parcel would provide, knowing those services will take time to come. We want you to stick to your original land plan. Most of those neighbors who back up to the residential portion of this proposal would naturally prefer to back up to residential versus commercial uses. While all of us in this room tonight may have different opinions and desires with regard to this site, I believe we remain united in terms of caring for our community and respecting one another. The 10 to 15% of those neighbors who I talked to who did not want to sign the petition and who don't back up to the proposed 53 new homes, I would say half didn't have a strong opinion one way or the other, and the other half were okay with the smaller commercial site size as they assumed that they would see retail services sooner. We all know land use decisions should not be based on popular vote. But our neighborhood's opinions on this matter should at least be factored into your decision-making. After all, we relied on this existing land use plan and the city's reputation for good planning when we purchased our homes around this site. And land use, as we know, is closer to an art than an exact science. My previous letters to you have given a history of the community commercial land use changes in our West Roseville area, have provided some comparisons of other successful, comparably sized, already developed commercial centers in the city, and have pointed out the MXD study from 2021 on the WB 41 parcel indicated the WB 42 parcel at 14.5 acres was rated in the top third of 26 vacant community commercial parcels in the Sierra Vista, West Roseville, and Creekside specific plan areas with respect to ability to attract and implement a successful retail development. My previous letters have also outlined new retail doesn't typically come into an area until all the rooftops are there. And we still have new rooftops going in within 1 mile of this site. This site hasn't really had a chance to develop into what it can if given adequate time. And my letter of September 24th to you outlines how the nearest comparable vacant community commercial site is owned by the city. That 13-plus acre site is located at Westbrook and Blue Oaks Boulevards. And I note the city hasn't decided to downsize their commercial site. This isn't right sizing. This isn't right at all. And most in my community see that. My previous letters have outlined what some other retailers have said about this smaller commercial site and what other commercial brokers have said about downsizing this site. There are other ways to market this site besides the one way Mr. Tallman has been comfortable with to date. This 14.5 acre parcel is already divided and could be a phased commercial project. Staff indicated there has to be a compelling reason to make a land use map change like this, but we don't see any compelling reason to reduce the opportunities for future services to our community. This is the only site we have left in our stretch of Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and it means a great deal to those of us who live here to have the opportunity for 14.5 acres of future supporting commercial services instead of 7 acres. Is this WB 42 site the #1 future retail commercial site in the city of Roseville? No. But we believe with time, this can and will develop into a robust commercial center providing a variety of needed services to our West Roseville community. We have that vision and that belief, and we're asking you to imagine that future for us too. We've put our best foot forward and are in need of your support. Thank you for your consideration of our request to deny this proposal.
Thank you very much. Next, I'll call on Jennifer Falk, please.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Falk, and I live in the Heritage Solaire 55-plus community adjacent to the commercial property we're talking about tonight. As I've mentioned before, at the forums that have been held in our area, and also in my written comments submitted to you, West Park is in danger of becoming a stucco jungle of housing on cramped lots with little to do outside once you get out of the house. 53 two-story homes on 4,000 square foot lots with absolutely no green space inside those 3 walls and the gate. Where are those families supposed to go when they want to escape their 4 walls? Oh, to the park. Well, that's been scaled back severely, and there's little shade, limited play structures, and no bathrooms. I know because when I took my grandson there for the first time, 5 minutes into playtime, he had to go potty. So much for the family playtime. Are they supposed to head to the 747 complex? That's a 1.5-mile walk along a busy thoroughfare. And by the way, the 747 complex is very popular, and it does not have a grocery store or a drugstore. That was developed by an entrepreneur who had a different vision, and that's what I'm asking you to think about tonight. We need a large, pedestrian-friendly commercial development that we can walk to for shopping, dining, services, entertainment. We were promised this when we bought here and looked at your plans. A grocery store and a gas station would be nice, but that's not all that we're talking about when we're talking about quality of life in West Park. We're talking about being able to walk to some of the services that we need, like the gym, the pet groomer, hair and nail salons, maybe a walk-in medical care office or dentist office. Shops with unique clothing and gift items, and maybe unique house and garden items, or maybe farm-to-table style food store. A place where we can meet a friend for lunch, dinner, or drinks. Stroll with neighbors and sit outside to enjoy coffee together. Take our children or grandchildren out for an ice cream or fresh-baked cookies. Where our community can house some events, like the food truck nights that the West Park Association has, or maybe some new events like a Via Arte on the sidewalks once a year, or Santa Claus coming to meet with the kids on a Saturday morning. This proposal is premature. It would be a permanent change which will affect our quality of life and the character of West Park forever. A problem that may resolve as Westbrook continues to develop and as the retail world continues to evolve to meet the needs that their customers have for those enjoyable in-person shopping experiences that you just can't have when you're shopping online. My neighbors and I, and some of them are here tonight, and many have signed the petition, respectfully ask you to consider denying the proposed zone change for now. It's always possible to revisit it a few years from now, and after more development has occurred, we can reevaluate the state of retail and the commercial world at that point. Thank you for considering these points, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you very much. Next, I'll call on Bob Waters.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Bob Waters. I also live in Solaire Heritage. I believe I'm the only one here that actually owns property that affronts or backs up to this proposal. So I'm directly affected by what goes on that lot. I bought the property, my property, knowing full well that it was commercial. And I'm fully willing to accept if that property remains commercial, because I knew it going into it. However, if you were to ask me what my druthers are, I'd rather have a residence behind me than a two-story commercial building like the back of a grocery store that's going to bring in security lights, it's going to bring in delivery trucks at 4 a.m. So I'm in favor of being able to split this property and being able to put residents directly behind me. I've also spoke to a number of my neighbors who also are in the same situation, and for the most part, they are also in favor of having residential property behind them. I think that what's occurred for me when I started to understand this proposal and started to look at the size of that lot, I started to appreciate the difficulty of trying to find and populate a commercial property of that size. I think that we're never going to be able to have a fountain type environment out in West Roseville. And I think that's what a lot of people are trying to look for. There was a lot of controversy a few months ago with all the traffic that was, truck traffic that was going to be going up and down Westbrook. That has now changed, where there's not going to be as much truck traffic, but now there's the soccer fields that are going to be opening up. So you add that with a 14-acre commercial development, and I think that we're going to get into gridlock pretty quick out on Pleasant Grove and Westbrook. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. The final card I have here is for Brian Wong.
Good evening. My name is Brian Wong. I'm a new homeowner in the Vale neighborhood of the Solaire community, and I'm here to express my strong opposition to the proposed rezoning of WB 42. When my family and I decided to purchase our home, one of the key factors in our decision was the promise of a nearby commercial and retail center. The prospect of having shopping opportunities within a 5-minute drive or even a short walk or bike ride was incredibly appealing. We envisioned a lifestyle where we could engage in our daily shopping needs in an environmentally friendly manner, reducing our reliance on cars and contributing to a greener community. The city of Roseville is experiencing significant growth, and while we are new residents to this side of town, we have long been aware of the lack of shopping opportunities here. Even with the new Safeway coming in, there are still no walkable shopping options from our neighborhood. The proposed commercial center, less than a mile away, would fill this critical gap. If we allow half this land to be converted to residential use, we lose half the square footage of a much-needed commercial hub forever. As I understand it, the developer is concerned that there is not sufficient commercial demand for space, for the space. I would argue that the neighborhoods immediately adjacent to the area have not existed long enough for us to know that. In fact, most of the land to the west, north, and south of the property in question is still open fields and farmland. It is still undeveloped residential space, and the hundreds of homeowners who will one day reside there are going to need a place to shop. And the hairdressers, yoga studios, dentists, pharmacies, gyms, ice cream shops, restaurants, and other retail establishments are going to need a place to go. From an economic perspective, having a commercial center nearby would not only enhance our property values, but also provide job opportunities for local residents. Commercial developments typically generate more tax revenue for the city and create a vibrant local economy. This is consistent with the findings of the fiscal impact analysis for this proposal. I urge the Commission to consider the long-term economic impact of this decision as well. I understand that the city and the developer may have their reasons for proposing this change, but I believe that there are alternative solutions that can be explored. For instance, the city could look into mixed-use developments that combine residential and commercial spaces, ensuring that we still have access to essential services and shopping opportunities. Alternatively, the city could identify other areas more suitable for residential development without compromising the planned commercial center. Or the city and the developer could hold fast to the original agreement and develop the entire parcel as community commercial. As evidenced by tonight's turnout, I am not alone in my concerns. Furthermore, in multiple conversations, several of my neighbors from the Vale community shared my same sentiment. We collectively urge the city and the developer to maintain their commitment to the Solaire community and the broader city of Roseville by utilizing the existing space and acreage as commercial space as originally planned. In closing, I would like to remind the Commission that by preserving all of this land for commercial use, we can ensure that our neighborhood remains a desirable place to live, work, and shop. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the audience tonight who would like to speak? All right, thank you, everybody. Commissioners, are there any sorry, I will now close the public comment period.
Exactly. Let's make sure the applicant has an opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah. Can have any.
Does the applicant have any? Okay, come forward. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Marcus Leduca again. Just a couple thoughts. Ms. Falk mentioned a number of uses, and so did Mr. Wong, a number of uses that they would like to see in a shopping center here. The 7-acre site and the layout that we had would accommodate every single one of those. So a 7-acre site gets built quicker, but it could accommodate all the uses that they talked about there. Now, if you're talking about hardware stores, those take up a whole site. And someone mentioned, the fountains that we, there won't be a fountains even though people would like to have a fountains. One thing I'd like to remind everyone is I represented the master developer, the second master developer in North Central that actually brought urban retail to Roseville, who built the Galleria. That specific plan it was in default. They completely restructured. It took 20 amendments to the plan to be able to make that plan work. But Galleria and Roseville Parkway is main and main for retail in the state of California north of the Tehachapi's. It is the place to be, quite simply, more than anything in the Bay Area. The fountains, and I've represented that for full disclosure, I represented the Fountains Project also. Phase 2 of that project, again, located across from the largest shopping center, a luxury shopping center. You have Creekview across the street is a major power center. Phase 2 of that has been vacant for 34 years, and that owner has been marketing that like crazy. So it's sometimes, again, you have a site that you may have zoned commercial, you wanted a site to work at a certain size, and it's just not doable. One thing that I would note is the previous 2021 study that was referenced did not look at project parcel size when it did its analysis. The analysis before you tonight did look at that. But again, we think this is a good site. We think this could work. But we've had no bites, zero interest. Not a little interest, zero interest from retail developers, grocery stores, to look at a 14.5-acre site. If you just built the front, say, well, we're going to keep it 14.5 acres, we're going to build the northern part near the intersection, and then leave the back part, you know how tough it is to build the back part of a commercial site away from a corner? I've seen some of those sites sit there decades, both in this county and other counties in the region, because people want to be where the most visible trips are, and so that back area may just stay vacant for a very long time. This is a way to put some more rooftops in the area, and you do need more rooftops in the area, quite simply, because if you go north of Pleasant Grove Boulevard and you look at a map of Sierra Vista and the West Roseville plan, what do you see? A lot of permanent open space. There's a lot of area north of Pleasant Grove in the vicinity of the 1 mile radius of this that you had an exhibit submitted to you in your packet. That's green open space. It's never going to have any homes on it. It's permanent. It's deed restricted. And so that being the case, you are going to need more rooftops added, and to try to get this at a right size to be able to get someone to come in the near term rather than waiting another 10 or 15 years, because that's what you're possibly looking at. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission might have.
Commissioners, are there any additional questions, comments for the applicant?
So I'm trying to get a sense of scale, and so I'm going to ask you, the project that contains the kitchen 747 that's across from the church right there, approximately how big is that site, and how does that compare to the space on the 7 acres?
It's 3 acres? That's 3 acres.
So that's 3 acres, and this is a 7-acre
Correct.
site that would be fully for commercial development? Okay, thank you.
And like I said, it could fit a grocery store and shop space. And if you look at even some of the restaurants, ice cream shops, yoga parlors, nail salons, they're shrinking their size. They're not where they were 20 years ago or even 15 years ago relative to the size. People have right-sized, given what the challenges are facing businesses and employees they're able to get and all the rest. They are not going to the size they were when the Westbrook Amendment came in 2012.
I've got a similar question, if I may, Chair.
Go ahead.
Because that was my question, is to try and understand how big this site actually is. The site that's at the corner of Pleasant Grove and Fitterman, the Safeway Center that's going in, how many acres is that site?
The Safeway Center is 9 acres, roughly, 8.5.
Okay.
8.5 acres.
Any additional questions or comments from commissioners? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I have some follow-up questions with staff, if it's okay.
I have one.
I need to understand a little bit more about the public benefit. fee and what that's going to be used for, because there's a couple of fees you've mentioned in there, and how will those be used and how will they benefit the community? I heard from one of the speakers that we have parks in the area that don't have a lot of amenities that are in there, and I know that we're struggling in some of the specific plans based on the fees and the way costs have gone up to be able to provide the services that people are expecting in those parks. So I guess my question for you is, that public benefit fee going to be something that would help to address some of those issues that are out there, or is it just going to a citywide pool that the Parks Department would look for where it's the best need? I want to understand that a little bit more.
So specifically the two park fees that generate approximately $500,000, that will go into a fund that the Parks Department will use to improve parks. Their focus is Sierra Vista. That's where they right now, because of cost increases, what we've heard from the Parks Department, that's one of their focuses. It's not limited to the Sierra Vista specific plan, but I know that is probably the biggest need right now to focus on is that plan area on some of the parks. They've been, construction costs have outstripped our typical park development fee. Construction cost index increase, annual construction cost index increases. So they're struggling to.
Half of it is the neighborhood park fee, right, for Sierra Vista.
Well, yeah.
Half is the public.
Well, it's all going. Well, there's. That's not true. So I was correct. So the two fees are going to go into one fund for the Parks Department. So there are two in lieu fees because they're not dedicating land for this particular site. So they're paying an in lieu fee because they're not dedicating neighborhood park land, and then they're going to pay an in lieu fee because they're not dedicating citywide park land. So there's two different fees. And when you add all the park fees up, I think the last spreadsheet I saw is it's going to be roughly about $15,600 a unit in park fees. So it's not just the development agreement fees. They'll still be paying the regular development agreement park fees. So it's going to generate quite a bit of money for parks. The regular park fees that they pay that are already in the development agreement that they haven't, that aren't negotiated through the DA, already in the original DAs, that for sure goes into the funds for Sierra Vista for land.
To answer.
Yeah, it's really focused on Sierra Vista.
So there's more revenue that's going to come in to the city, specifically the Parks Department, to add value back to the community.
Yes.
Because as I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at a rezone, and I look at rezones very closely, there needs to be a value to the community for me to even consider wanting to do something like this. And so I want to understand how that works and what would come back.
The public benefit fee that Sean mentioned, the $87,000, $67,000 roughly by once all 53 units are built out, that does go into the strategic improvement plan. That's a citywide for kind of the council discretion.
Understood.
And the parks definitely will be focused on for the Parks Department to kind of catch up on their park development. I know that there was a mention that some of the parks aren't fully developed. We've had some issues where quite frankly, the impact fees haven't provided enough money to do the full park development, and there's been complaints about. It seems like there's a lot of bark in that park.
Yeah, I've been hearing those same comments. That's why I'm bringing this up.
And so this gives the Parks Department an opportunity to improve, have less bark in some of the parks and more amenities. I know bathrooms, which are very expensive to build, but that is also an amenity that I know the Parks Department wishes they could put in every park.
And just a follow-up question. This is just your experience and what you're seeing, because I'm looking at some of the retail centers that are in the area, and I notice a lot of them are losing tenants. Specifically, you see a lot of banks that are closing. The center that's closest to me has a Golden One Center, and that's disappeared.
Wood Creek Oak is...
Yeah, and then the Chase Bank at the Safeway Center, that one's disappeared. And we're seeing these vacancies turn up for these centers that used to be what drove them.
Right.
And so is this a trend that you're seeing throughout the city?
Absolutely. If in all parts of the city, when I say newer, relatively newer, within the last 20 years, some of those shopping centers, we're seeing banks go out. I mean, Creekside, Bank of America and Creekside Ridge is either gone or going soon because the owners of that are looking at how to redevelop that building. There's several vacant banks on Douglas Boulevard. So the older commercial corridors, the newer commercial centers, yeah, banks are definitely either getting smaller or going away. And it's really an evolution. It's really an evolution of commercial and retail that we're seeing. So it's kind of this ebb and flow. Right now, I'll be honest with you. Right now, if you talk about commercial development, this particular site, we could get a gas station and a car wash on this site. I mean, I think if John called a couple gas station folks and car wash folks, he could probably get them on the hook right away. But that's not necessarily what we envision for this neighborhood. We're also looking for neighborhood serving uses.
Understood.
And so it is a struggle on these sites, and we aren't, we lucked out with the Rayleigh's one site. That's a little bit bigger. But if you think about that, a large portion of it is a gas station, and a large portion of it is a large daycare facility. So that is not a tax sales generating, a revenue generating. That is not that's good for the neighborhood. That's good for the residents to have a place for their children. But it doesn't provide walkable retail.
My one last question, and I'm trying to understand too, the center that's the Safeway Center that I talked about earlier. How long has that one sat vacant?
Wow, that's the North Roseville specific plan.
No, that's the Del Webb specific plan.
Del Webb, sorry, Del Webb.
Yeah.
So since
Probably 30 years or so.
That's fair to say.
And they were, that center, as it is today, almost identical. Derek would know better than I would, but was approved in 2005, 2006?
Yeah, the original approvals were in 2005.
So it was approved in 2005, 2006. The recession hit. They didn't build the center, and it took all the way until 2022 for them to come back and have it make sense to build.
Yeah, and I know that when that center came in, it was really at the edge of town because Fitterman Road was the edge of town. I'm looking at this center, and there is going to be growth that happens to the west of it eventually sometime. But it really sits kind of at the farmost end of the city as it exists today. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any more final comments?
I just have I just want to make sure that I know and people know. The city has an affordable housing goal, 10% of residents of homes being constructed. So that'd be like 5 homes in this project, basically. And there's been an agreement with another developer to take that requirement.
Really, it's a fairly significant struggle, and it's not very successful for our housing division to provide affordable housing on single-family lots, standalone single-family lots. So it's much it's better for the clientele, folks seeking housing, better for the city for that to be in multifamily developments. And so the developer was able to work out an arrangement with a multifamily developer that has property very close by to this site. So it's not going outside the specific plan area.
Thank you.
Just a couple of quick questions. Approximately how far are the Costco Center and the Safeway Shopping Center from this site?
1 mile.
2 miles.
Roughly.
I looked at it earlier.
You guys know? What is this?
Boy, that's it.
I'm going to say it's, a mile and a half.
To Safeway? Yeah. A mile to Safeway, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, no, he's asking to Costco.
Oh, Costco.
Either one, both. Less than 2 miles.
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't tell. And then I believe I read in the staff report that a 7-acre site, with the sort of example plan, commercial plan, could be about around 70,000 square foot building. Is that right, plus or minus?
The market study said the site could support 60 to 70, and then the conceptual site plan showed about 55,000, but that's just a concept. It could be laid out in all sorts of different ways. It probably could increase or decrease the square footage, but generally around there.
Around there. So it's just so I can wrap my mind around the size. Plaza at Blue Oaks, the Raley's Market, 81,000 square foot, but that includes the child care center and the gas station. Okay, and then it looks like in Davis, there's a 90,000 square foot site that anchored by a Trader Joe's. So, you know, I mean, if you look at the Blue Oaks Center, obviously a large amount of that square footage is the child care center. But so presumably if we're 70-ish thousand square feet, I mean, something similar to that, you know, with all the restaurants, the amenities, things like that would fit on a 7-acre site, depending on how it's laid out.
I think roughly if you shaved off the daycare center and the gas station from that side of the Plaza at Blue Oaks, and then that's probably equivalent.
Okay.
Close. Maybe a little, that's still maybe a little bit bigger.
Okay. That helps me get a bit,
closer.
you know, an idea of what could potentially go on a 7-acre site.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask one more question? Because you jogged me on another one. What is the size of, like, the Raley's one, square footage?
I think that's around 35,000 square feet. Yeah, it's a much smaller than the older, you know,
Which is
55,
Which
65,000
is the
square
model we're
foot.
seeing for retail grocers now is scaling that back a little bit. So 35,000, and if we're at 60 or 70,000, we still have room for another 20,000 square feet of plus of retail use on that site. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, I will now
Chair.
close. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have some comments and maybe one question. So, there's approximately 50,000 residents in West Park. I know because I live there. I've lived there since 2007. So, the Mojo's area that you are referring used to be as big as this lot. And for 15 years, it was dirt and then weeds, depending on the season. Only when it was reimagined and that's the only time that a commercial center was put in there. So it took 15 years. So now looking at the information that I got when they developed Soler, up to now it's like 12 years now. And with the changing of times as far as the retail sizes of the stores, I'm also a businessman, and if I ever have the capacity to put a grocery store there, I'm probably gonna think twice, because from that corner to the corner of Fidement and Pleasant Grove, Safeway is opening up. That's 1 mile. And then Costco, of course, is a game changer. And that is like 750,000 square feet. So the concern of the residents that I heard is they're concerned about the walkability of the area. And if downsizing it or right-sizing it, whichever you prefer, will still accommodate those square footage of retail with all the nice suggestions of my neighbors, like spa or dentist or grocery, or so those are all nice. And if it's still gonna be accommodated while giving the landowner its right to develop their property, wherein everybody will benefit. I know that not all of us will be happy for whatever the outcome of this one, but eventually the fees that it will generate can probably help your neighborhood also to have restrooms or more shade in your parks, because I know the parks are built in tiers. So if it's considered a neighborhood park, there's no restroom. If it's a city park, it will have a restroom. If it's a regional park, it will have so many more amenities. So that's how they build parks here in Roseville. My question would be, there was a mention about a commercial site in Blue Oaks and Westbrook, so that the city apparently owns. Can you tell us when that gets developed, will the city operate it, or it will be sold to a private developer so that the city will not benefit whatsoever? Thanks.
That's a real speculative question. So that particular parcel is just north of the regional the regional soccer complex that's being constructed right now, and it's immediately adjacent to the Roseville Energy Park. So there's definitely some constraints there for that site, and it's 13 total acres that are designated commercial. At this time, the city doesn't have any. There aren't any development plans percolating along for that site. There has been talk about what opportunities the city might have to develop something that could support the soccer complex. But we also know that there's a 10-acre commercial site in Creekview right across the street from Blue Oaks. And several years ago, they quote-unquote right-sized that parcel. They shaved a few acres off of it. And that was one of the arguments is that, well, we want to balance the commercial on the two sides of Blue Oaks because, if the city ever does sell the land, go into some type of an agreement with a commercial developer, that could be competition. But I would say that's probably a long-term speculative. The city isn't in the business of commercial real estate development.
That's what I want.
And we're probably in the same boat as West Park on trying to find somebody that would buy it for the price we would want to sell it for if that was, a desire of the city to find a developer that would build it. We're going to be marketing it to the same people the West Park are marketing it to. And I don't know. I couldn't answer when. I think the sports complex has to be up and running for a while before we see what kind of demand, if there is any demand. And then we may be second fiddle to Creekview's site because they're next to a neighborhood. They're quite honestly a little bit of a superior site.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just trying to clarify that the city is not in the business of putting up commercial centers.
No.
It will not benefit from the downsizing of this one.
Oh, you mean, does it make our property more valuable? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any final comments, questions from Commission? All right.
Yeah.
I will now close the public hearing. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Literal stinker.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I would move that we consider the 13th addendum to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan EIR and recommend the City Council adopt a resolution approving the general plan amendment. Recommend the City Council adopt a resolution approving the specific plan amendment for the Sierra Vista Specific Plan. Recommend the City Council adopt the 2 findings of fact and approve the rezone. Recommend the City Council adopt the 5 findings of fact and approve the 5th amendment to the Sierra Vista Specific Plan Westbrook Development Agreement, and adopt the 3 findings of fact and approve the tentative subdivision map subject to 59 conditions of approval, and finally approve the lot line adjustment subject to 8 conditions of approval.
A second.
Okay. Commissioner Jensen has made the motion and Commissioner Unidad has seconded the motion. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Randolph?
Yes.
Commissioner Jensen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hagen-Jost?
Yes.
Commissioner Brashears?
Yes.
Commissioner Unidad?
Yes.
And Chair Pryor.
Yes. The motion is approved. There is a 10-day appeal period for the tentative map and the line lot adjustment. The City Council will hold a public hearing regarding the general plan amendment, the specific plan amendment, rezone, and development agreement amendment. Next on the agenda is...
Real quickly, can I jump in just for the residents that are still here? So the tentative map was approved, but it's conditioned on the rezone occurring from the council. So even though the tentative map's approved and the council's not discussing that, it can't move forward without the council's...
That's correct.
Okay.
Hypothetically, the tentative map and the lot line adjustment are subject to an
You're
appeal.
held hostage to that.
But if the council denied the rezone, those 2 items, the lot line adjustment might be approved, but the subdivision map definitely would not be approved.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure the
Yeah.
residents were aware of on that piece. Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is Commissioner Staff Report. Are there any reports from staff?
Yeah, I just have a couple quick items. We will be having a meeting on October 10th. We have 3 items currently noticed and planned for an agenda on October 10th, and we are not planning on having a meeting on October 24th, but then we will have a couple items in the November meeting. And we only have one meeting in November, if you all recall, unless you do want to come meet on Thanksgiving night. I'll be here if you want me to be here.
You'll come if you bring the turkey.
Might be better than my family.
Oh. Is that on record?
Is that on the public record?
Next, yeah, that's on the record. My wife and family are watching. So, and also, next Wednesday, the well space rezone project will be going to City Council. I'll report out on that on October 10th.
Thank you very much, Greg. Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
Yeah, I'd like to go on record and welcome my daughter and my second daughter, Gracie and Natasha. And also, I want to thank the high school students. You guys were amazing tonight, very quiet. Y'all, if your projects are due next Wednesday, I'll wait till the last minute, but that's okay. You got it done. We're ready to sign cards. And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
If you're ready for that. Yeah.
Yes. May I have a motion to adjourn? You've given the motion. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming tonight.
Thank you.